Hi guys, welcome to the BSFT team, and I am Doris, and I'll be your supervisor. I wanted to give you all a small, short video to give you the basics of the paperwork. Oftentimes, when we're in supervision, I try my best to make sure we go over paperwork in the last few minutes, but I just wanted to give you a video for at least just the basics of the paperwork so that you can have an idea of kind of what you're supposed to be doing on a basic level. For some of the more specific BSFT principles and guidelines with the paperwork, we'll do that for sure in supervision. And as you get more familiar after workshop one with just kind of some of the things that I'm talking about, it'll make a little bit more sense when we go to it and we go through it in further detail during our supervision times. But for now, this is just going to be a really quick, brief overview to kind of answer some of the basic questions. Let me share my screen. These documents are going to be sent to you. If you haven't already received them, you'll definitely get them in training. And then once we begin supervision, I try to make sure that I go over them and make sure that I give you a copy as well. There's so much information and so much detail that happens in our workshop one that sifting through, some of the documents that you receive can be kind of hard. So I have it all in one document just for purposes of showing you all and giving you an overview. You will get these individually with 4 different Word documents. So in no particular order, there's going to be the contact log, the weekly case summary, the progress note, and your video identification form. So let's kind of just, a lot of this is self-explanatory, but then some of it needs to be highlighted specifically. So participant number, you'll probably more than likely get that from your site, your supervisor or case manager on your actual site based on how you all identify and number your clients or your families. The dates, of course, videotaped, right? And primarily for anything that you're sending to me, I mean, you should just be in the habit of videoing regardless. But when you're sending this to me, this is going to always be checked because it's going to accompany a video, right? The time in which you met with the family, the length of the session, we did the participant number, sex of IP. IP varies from site to site as well. For my particular home site, my IP is identified as the youth. My home site is with a juvenile justice department. So the sex of my IP is going to be the identified child, which is who we deal with we deal with the family with the children who are on probation. That's just on my site. Your site may be different, and we can discuss IPs further in detail as you all kind of navigate through diagnosing your families. The age of your IP, the therapist's condition for the most part stays blank. Type of contact for the sessions that you have, supervision sessions that you have with me, you're primarily going to be therapy session. There will be other sessions that I'm sure will be covered within your agency, but for our purposes of supervision, type of contact is going to be a therapy session. Here you're going to identify all those who were present, the entire family that was there for that particular session. If they aren't there, you won't identify them as being there. But for the most part, each week, the number one task that you give your families is to have everybody in session. So for the most part, you will have multiple people checked depending on the size of the family. If there's anything in particular specific that you need to identify based on what you've checked here. We want to know if everyone was in attendance. So yes or no, and if not, you're going to know who was not there. Location, again, depending on the note and the family will determine what location where you met the family. We are kind of still exiting out of COVID, if you will, where a lot of times has been checked for telehealth. But for the most part, we're back in person. So rather it's at the home or the clinic or agency, or for me, in some cases, I see my families at the courthouse. But if for whatever reason you are still in a state or a site where you are still doing telehealth, this is the most natural place to put that. Then let's skip up to the video ID, just because it's a little, less explanatory as well. Again, the case number that you use in the previous form. Your session number should be congruent, and then your date. And then whoever was in the video should be identified. Now let's go back up to your weekly case summary. Yeah, weekly case summary. Participant number, again, will be congruent with the client number and participant number. Presenting problem, it is not the presenting problem in a sense of what the family is presenting this week. The presenting problem will stay the same throughout the entire time you meet with the family. The presenting problem, so let's use my site for an example. The presenting problem could be theft, runaway, truancy, right? Things of that nature. It's not, he didn't do his homework this week. This presenting problem will remain the same from the beginning to the end. Week number, week 2, week 3, week 4. And then the date, right? From 7/1/22 to 7/7/22 is the week frame. Therapist, this course is going to be you. Next session, yes or no? And if yes, identify 7/14/22 is when the next session is. Then you have the diagnostic code, level of severity, and focus. The diagnostic code is with your first session, part of you creating a treatment plan to diagnose the family based on what you see in the first couple of sessions. The diagnostic codes are found on the diagnostic sheet. Let me bring that up for you. This is more of the cheat sheet of the diagnostic sheet. There is a more detailed specific one that you will have received in training, but the diagnostic codes are across the 5 domains, right? So the structure, the resonance, the developmental stage, the IP hood, and conflict resolution. Based on what you see in the first couple of sessions, and each domain will be transferred to your weekly case summary. Your level of severity is directly correlated to how severe is the hierarchy with this particular family. How severe is the enmeshment with this particular family? Is it most severe, moderate? Have to get close, guys. Excellent, right? So as you navigate week to week, your level of severity will change within time. So if they start out with the most severe, your goal from a BSFT BSFT frame is to get them higher than a 3, 4, and would be great for 5 and 6s, right? But after the 3 and going into 4s is when you can start working on and identifying other diagnostics that need to be taken care of. And then at the bottom is where you're going to find the focus. The focus is pertaining to where the family is, where you as a therapist are and what you chose to work on for that particular session. So let's go back to weekly case summary. The diagnostic, right? So like hierarchy, and you would use the numbers, hierarchy, enmeshment, negativity, IP hood, right? The level of severity that the family is, where the family is at that time. So 1, 2, 3, 4, or 2, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 3, right? And then the focus for that week. Some weeks, depending on what you want to work on, the focus is going to be all 1s and maybe 1 or 2, 4 or 5s, right? We don't want to overwhelm you. You don't want to overwhelm yourself, and you don't want to overwhelm your family with working on way too much all at one time, because it just won't be effective, and it will lend to other challenges that you have. So after you fill in the numeric portion of the diagnostic code, level of severity and focus, you will then use the wording of those diagnostics here. And you're going to list out the entire treatment plan. So if you diagnose this family with 11 diagnostics, you're going to put all 11 here. You're not going to work on them every week, which is why the focus is there. The focus will tell me what you worked on. I also highlight, that's just an extra step, right? I highlight because it helps me when I'm looking at my weekly case summaries each week before I meet with my family. It just gives me a snapshot into, okay, this is what I worked on last week. And at the bottom, you're going to type in plan, and it's going to tell you what your plan was for that particular session. So it's just a way of having a snapshot without having to read all the details. So let's jump over quickly while I have that up to an example of a weekly case summary. Let me make this a little larger so I don't have to get so close to the screen and scare everybody. But as you can see, the participant number, the presenting problem for this particular IP, what week it was, the week date, therapist, the next scheduled session. And as you can see, I've diagnosed this family with 15, right? About 15 different diagnostics, and they're all listed here. I have them listed numerically here, and then I have the treatment plan in the written form. At the bottom of your, I'm gonna hold it up. At the bottom of this cheat sheet, right? Here is the diagnostics, and then at the bottom is your plan. So this tells you what the family needs to work on. This tells you what you're gonna do in order to achieve it. So it's very self-explanatory in the diagnostic sheets that you have, whether you're looking at the cheat sheet or you're looking at the more the larger format of it, where it's a little bit more specific. So yes, then the level of severity, and then you have the focus. So for this particular one, as I look down, I see a 4, which means I worked on I1, which was decreased negativity. And it just helps me look, again, highlighting is not necessary. The most important thing is that you identify the entire treatment plan so that you can also just really get a grasp on where this family is, what you have to work on, and start creating a plan for that. And then the level of severity and the focus. All right, so now let's go to your progress note. Let me go to the progress note. So this is how the progress note will come to you. The progress note is what you did in the session. A is the problematic interaction. In a sense of what are the diagnostics? What did you say you were going in? So I was going in for the decreasing negativity, or I was going in for hierarchy. That's what A is going to say, hierarchy. B is going to be how I actually went about addressing the diagnostics, which a lot of times is going to be highlighting, reframing, tasking, blocking, praising. It's whatever you did in the session. So B, you're going to fill in the A, B, and C, right? And then C is just your progress. Did the family make progress? Yes or no? Progress made or no progress made, or minimum progress, or great progress, right? So here's an example of a note. Decrease negative behaviors. That's straight from this sheet, right? The diagnostic code is straight from this sheet or straight from your treatment plan. And then what I did. So the highlighting right now, the literal yellow marks, is not necessarily something you have to do. I'm just doing it for the purposes of this video, right? So I highlighted, I blocked negativity, I tasked, then I praised the family, right? Minimum progress made. So, and then if you're going to work on 2 goals that particular week, A, again, down here, another A, another B, and another C. You're going to have hierarchy as A. B, what I highlighted or what I blocked or what I tasked, right? And then ideally praising. And then I'm going to say if there was any progress made to that hierarchy goal, because there could have been minimum progress made for the decreased negativity and no progress made from a hierarchy standpoint, or progress made from a hierarchy standpoint. So it will just depend on your what you did in the session. This is not what you wanted to do. This is not what you thought you did. This isn't what you plan to do. This is not what you were thinking you were going to do. This is a direct reflection of what you did in the session. That's going to get better as we work together and as we navigate learning the BSFT way, right? So, but it also helps you see and me see, because you're going to you're going to type what you did in session, because you're going to look back at your videos, you're going to watch your videos, you're going to see what you did. And that's another point to really make, making sure that you are looking back at your videos and making sure that you are actually doing what you thought you did. Because you can think you did something in session, and that's the beauty of our videos, but then you get there and you say, oh, wait, I thought that was a highlight. That was not a highlight, right? So I think that covers it, right? I think that covers all the notes. The two ones that get a little tricky are the weekly case summary and the progress note. The video ID and your contact log are pretty self-explanatory, especially once you get past what the participant number is, presenting problem. For the most part, it's written the way it needs to be, what it prompts you for, but sometimes it can get a little confusing, like I said, with presenting problem and just a diagnostic code and just having the entire form filled out in its entirety. I hope that covers it all. I hope that was helpful. Please let me know if you have any questions. Let me know if I left off anything. Let me know if something wasn't clear, because this is not to serve as the only time you'll ever hear us talk about paperwork. It's just really just to give you a brief summary going in so you can kind of have a basis of an idea of what you're supposed to be doing. Alrighty, guys. Thanks for watching this